Find the pattern via the link in the description.
First, let's put the front of the panties together. We're going to attach the shaping front panel to the lower front piece. For extra comfort, we'll sew everything using a French seam. So we'll start by placing the pieces wrong sides together. Stitch using a straight stitch with a 5mm seam allowance. At this stage, you can trim the seam allowance to reduce bulk before enclosing it in the French seam.
Trimming isn't mandatory, but it makes the next step easier.
Now I'm going to reposition the pieces, right sides together. Pin in place to keep the edges perfectly aligned. Sew another seam at 5mm. With a French seam, it's clean on the outside, and just as clean on the inside. To finish, since the upper front is sheer, we don't want the seam to show, so we're going to press it downward. To keep everything in place, sew one last line all along using a 3-step zigzag stitch.
In a 3-step zigzag, the zigzag keeps the stretch, and the 3 steps add a decorative finish.
Now let's move on to the back. We're going to assemble it using the lace, right side to right side. The right side is the one with texture and detail, and the wrong side looks flatter and a bit dull. There are 2 notches at the top and 1 at the bottom. Match them together, right sides facing. And I'm going to sew both sides of the back using a zigzag stitch. First, you need to check where your needle lands on the right side with your zigzag settings. On my machine, it lands right here. If I want to sew with a zigzag without going off the edge, I need to position my fabric right here. I'm placing a piece of washi tape as a guide. Now I know I just need to align my fabric with the edge of the washi tape to stay right on the edge and get a clean zigzag seam. To help with the start, I pull my threads to the back. The back and the front are now ready. Now let's move on to the gusset. There are 2 pieces, one for the outside and one for the inside. Place the outer gusset right sides together with the front, and then the inner gusset right side against the wrong side of the front. You'll have 3 layers. Zigzag all 3 layers together. Now onto the back. Place it right sides together with the outer gusset. For the inner gusset, bring it around the panties. Roll the panties up. Then place it right side against the wrong side. Again, zigzag all 3 layers together. Then open it up. This method gives you a clean, comfortable inside, and just as clean on the outside. Before closing the panties, we're going to secure both gusset layers in place. Just to hold everything in place, sew a basting stitch on both sides at 5mm.
A machine basting stitch just means setting your stitch length to the longest setting.
To finish assembling the panties, we'll sew the sides. For comfort, we'll use a French seam, just like before. Start by sewing wrong sides together. Trim if needed, turn, then sew right sides together. Finish with a small zigzag to secure everything in place. Start with the first seam at 5mm using a straight stitch. Trim the first seam allowance. Turn it to the wrong side. Fold it right sides together on each side and pin in place. And stitch once more at 5mm. Clean finish on the inside and on the outside. We're going to press the seam down once more. This time, it's directed toward the back, so the front stays clean with no visible seam.
We don't iron, we press. Let the heat do the work.
I'm securing everything in place one more time with a 3-step zigzag stitch. Final step, the elastic for the leg openings and the waistband. The technique is exactly the same for all 3 sections. I use elastic by the yard. I don't pre-cut it. Ideally, start in a spot that won't be too visible, at the back, near the gusset. Place the elastic right sides together, pike at edge facing inward, and sew all around with a zigzag stitch. I made a mark on my washi tape and another one 2 centimeters below. I start by sewing a few stitches forward.
Don't catch the picket edge in your stitching.
I pull the elastic to the second mark and aligns it edge to edge. That's what sets the right tension. Enough stretch without over pulling. Then I sew forward without moving my fingers. When I reach the end, I reposition, grab the elastic at the first mark, pull it to the second, and keep going. Back at the start, just overlap the picots and stitch over the elastic for a few stitches. And I cut. The elastic is in place. Now we turn it to the right side, like this, and stitch all around with a 3-step zigzag. I start in roughly the same spot. No more tension to manage here, just gently stretch the fabric so it stays flat while sewing. Our Selena panties are finished.